the Looney Tunes have a movie, and it's actually kind of good. It's called The Day the Earth Blew Up. And yeah, this is a movie that's not really meant to be taken seriously, but I think that's the whole point of the Looney Tunes. And I have to admit, there's a certain generation, Generation X, that's me, that kind of grew up watching the Looney Tunes on Saturday morning or afternoon cartoons. And it wasn't until I was a teenager that I really appreciated all the work that was put into the comedy of it. And I really appreciated a lot of it. I think I appreciated it more as an adult than I did as a kid. Part of the appeal of the Looney Tunes is that there's this aspect of just incredible funny in small doses. A lot of it is slapstick, and a lot of the animation looks really good. Even still, most of the time when I was watching them, they were decades old. So it's kind of funny that it took up till now. I actually have heard this billed as the very first Looney Tunes movie. And that is very much correct, because any other Looney Tunes movie has been either a compilation of older cartoons, or it's been something like Space Jam or Back in Action, which unfortunately that's what the Looney Tunes were delegated to somewhere in the 90s or something like that. They were essentially these characters that Warner Brothers would just put in and just add into something. And we've really lost this, honestly. I mean, there was an attempt, I think, at a Looney Tunes cartoon where they were kind of in the suburbs. And I can't remember what decade that was. I think you can still watch it on HBOMax. And there's even more modern Looney Tunes cartoons there that I just haven't gotten around to watching. I just haven't really heard anything about them. I kind of feel like it feels strange that Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and all these other just iconic Warner Brothers characters are sort of fading into obscurity. And I just think that there's something kind of wrong with that, because it feels like we're living in an age where almost every franchise doesn't die. Anything that was a thing stays a thing. And Bugs Bunny and all those other guys, I just feel like they should stay a thing. I feel like, how come they haven't been represented for the new generation or stuff like that? I mean, dude, we're getting a Smurfs film this year. Smurfs! You should just let that die. Why is that still around? But I don't know. Just anyway, so The Day the Earth Blew Up is mostly starring Porky Pig and Daffy Duck, which are characters that I always kind of felt were more side characters. Daffy Duck I always felt was one that I could really relate to, because Daffy was one of those characters that always thought he was better than he actually was. And in a way, I thought he was actually funnier than Bugs, really. But he was funnier in the sense that he wasn't really trying to be funny. It was like he would just do things and they would end up just sort of literally blowing up in his face. And of course, we've all seen the shots of Elmer pretty much blowing his face off with a gun. You know, this is old school cartoons. You can't do that anymore, can you? So it's really interesting seeing them kind of brought into this modern age. The plot of The Day the Earth Blew Up isn't really very complicated. It definitely steals from a lot of older, 50s sci-fi things, but done in a more modern day animated form. And the animation does look pretty good. But essentially they've set up a retelling of this origin story, I guess, because Looney Tunes didn't really have an origin story. I mean, they're not really like, The Muppets, which is another IP franchise, which is sadly going into obscurity, but perhaps I can do another rant on that sometimes. Anyway, so it starts out with Porky Pig and Daffy Duck apparently being abandoned or lost from their orphanage, and they're found by Farmer Jim, who's this really hysterical character, because he seems to only exist as a background character. The only time you really see him are these painted stills of him. And so he brings in the two of them, raises them up, and settles them down in his house. And then for some reason, Farmer Jim I forget his name. Some reason he just goes off into the sunset one day, literally. And just, is he dead? I mean, who knows? I don't know. But he just leaves. And since this is a PG-rated film, there's, even though there is some action in this thing, and I think, maybe this film isn't really for kids, but it never really goes too terrible on this. But I will have to admit, it seems odd that Farmer John just sort of goes off in the sunset, leaving the boys kind of on their own. So one day the boys get a visit from a health inspector, and they discover that there's a huge hole in the roof. And the hole in the roof is caused by this meteorite that hits it and drops off some strange goo. Now, this meteorite is discovered by a scientist in a laboratory, and he's looking up and he sees an asteroid about to head to Earth. Then he sees the meteorite. Remember the asteroid thing, that's going to be pretty important. So this meteorite that carries this goo, this scientist is somehow possessed by an alien force. This alien who has this kind of strange UFO and tells the scientist to poison this gum in this gum factory. Now, this is a gum factory that Porky Pig and Daffy Duck have got new jobs at. And they got new jobs thanks to the help of someone they've met, Petunia Pig, which is a character I don't think this character has been animated, but maybe it has. I'm not really certain. I remember seeing comics when I was a kid of Petunia Pig and never really seeing any animated shorts of her. So I'm not sure if this is her first appearance in animated form ever, but she's in the thing and it's a really interesting character. So basically, this scientist with this goo infects the gum of this factory, and when people chew this factory, they become these mindless zombies. And essentially, once Porky Pig and Daffy Duck have figured this out, which, by the way, Daffy is the one who notices this and really has to and there's a really long, drawn-out scene where Daffy has to convince pretty much Porky Pig and Petunia that this is the case. And these are scenes that feel very conventional. They feel very drawn out. You've seen them before. And Petunia Pig and Porky Pig have this way of freeing the people from their mind control by spraying them with some rotten eggs, which causes them to gag, and they spit out the gum, and then they torch it with like a flamethrower. Unfortunately, Porky thinks that Daffy is going to screw this up, so he actually has Daffy stay at this one place so he can lay eggs, because Daffy can apparently lay eggs in this thing with great effort, I guess. It's not really brought up how. So they managed to free all the people of their particular whatever. And then it's like, unfortunately, Daffy and Porky are kidnapped by the alien force and are placed in prison. But they managed to free themselves, and we kind of see what the aliens' plan was. Basically, when people chew the gum, eventually they blow it into bubbles, and the bubbles float up, and then this entire Earth is covered by a giant bubblegum bubble. And now Porky and Daffy actually think that was the main plan of the villain. Here's the twist, and usually I put the twist around the 9-minute mark, and we're almost about there. It's not. Apparently, the main villain of this film isn't really a villain. He's actually putting a bubble over the Earth so that the asteroid, remember that I mentioned this asteroid, is going to essentially hit this bubble and just bounce off. But Porky Pig and Daffy Duck managed to find a way to pop the big old bubblegum bubblegum sphere around the Earth. So now the asteroid is headed in there. So then from there, the plot becomes essentially like Armageddon, where they have to get into the asteroid and get in deep. And fortunately, Petunia Pig has this formula for this gum that will essentially blow up. So they plan to explode the asteroid from the inside. I'm not going to reveal what happens after that, because I actually think this film has a pretty good quality of animation and a really interesting plot line. There is a bit of a third act breakup between Porky Pig and Daffy Duck, but they do get back together. But hey, I mean, that's not really a spoiler. You can figure that out. The Day the Earth Blew Up is very good, was released in theaters and kind of flopped. It did get fans looking at it, which I think is a very good thing.